Hi, we're Team Insight. Now, before we begin, let's go through a small hypothetical situation. Put yourself in the shoes of thousands of high school students across America that are going through, were going through just recently, the college application process. You're applying to your dream school, and lo and behold, there it is, a 250-word essay on your greatest achievements. How can you possibly fit it in 250 words? What are you going to write about? If you guys can just brainstorm, think of some ideas. What would you write in 250 words? Just a couple of ideas. Just think of something right now. I'll give you guys a little bit of time.
I don't have to do that.
It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I would say about what kind of improvement I would like to, the change I would like to see in the world, right?
Mhm.
How I can make a difference.
Yeah, of course. And so, I'm sure a lot of you, most of you, thought of some great ideas, but what you probably found is that it's difficult to just think of something on the spot, right? But lots of people do that all the time. Students and professionals alike, all the time, you have some sort of deadline, something you have to do, something you have to work on. And a lot of times, the brainstorming process is overlooked. You set apart some amount of time that you have to work on something, and you spend the first however much time just thinking of ideas right then and there, without leaving yourself any room. But that's not how the brainstorming process is most efficient.
So now this goes a little bit into our problem. So many high school students, or even people in the professional world, they have a lot of different things going on at the same time. Whether they're a project for work, a project for school, homework assignments, college application process, and it's hard to keep all of these. It's hard to keep track of all of these things, and sometimes things can slip through the cracks, or and before you know it, you'll be left in a time crunch where you'll have to kind of think of stuff on the spot, like you had to do with the college essay idea, and you'll be left with a less than optimal product. So this is what Insight kind of wants to combat, starting out with the brainstorming process. Insight aims to allow you to create, edit, update various projects and ideas that the user may have, where they're able to kind of keep track of these ideas over a period of time, so they aren't just going to kind of brainstorm these ideas on the spot in one day. Like we understand that coming up with a good idea may not be a one-day thing, but may take the course of a few weeks or a few months. And another thing Insight wants to focus on is idea accountability. We want users to be accountable for the ideas they create and the various projects that they may have to keep track of. So this is why we have notifications set up so users are able to be reminded of various projects they may have, so they don't slip through the cracks, and so they're reminded to kind of keep thinking about these various projects that they may have. And now to kind of introduce ourselves, Matthew Warnigan, who was not able to be here, he's on a college tour outside of state. He's our project manager. He kind of helps all of us. He kind of delegates all of us and makes sure that all of us are on track and doing what we're supposed to be doing, so we don't leave everything until the last minute. Majus Plaza is our Android software development. He creates Insight on the Android phone. My name's Anna Wojner. I'm the iOS software developer. I create the app on iOS Apple devices. And Joshua Brandt, he created our encryption formula, which kind of goes into security, which he's going to talk about later, and our website developer.
All right, so that's enough about us. Who really matters is the customer, right? And so this is who we started with, the college applicant. So we started thinking about this because all of us are juniors and seniors who were going through this process. And we wanted something that could help keep track, something that's not as messy as the Notes app on your phone, and something that'll make sure that, to remind you, to make sure that you're not kind of putting everything off, because it's really easy to do that, isn't it? But really, when we started talking to other customers, students, professionals, we found that Insight can be helpful for lots of people. People like Dominic here on the top right, who is the head builder on his robotics team, who's going to be competing at the World Championship this year. he said that he would love to use Insight to help manage new systems and ideas, things that will give him an edge over the competition. Vipin here is a cultural dancer who oftentimes competes. He would use Insight to manage choreographed routines and think of new moves that, again, would help put him above the rest. Piran, on the top left, is a nonprofit founder. She would use Insight to help manage new ideas for fundraisers and what she can do with those ideas. Kaylee, like many people, thinks of gifts and things for people on various occasions and various holidays. And a lot of times, just a little bit of help can make that gift so much more thoughtful and nice for the person involved. That's all great. There's a problem, there's a user. But how does Insight help with all this? That's what we're about to talk about. So these are some of our renders of the iOS version of the app, and you're going to be seeing some of the Android app in just a second here. So starting off straight from the home screen, you can see our two main principles, brainstorming and accountability. Our suggested brainstorming helps manage ideas on the spot. So here at the top of the home screen, you'll find two tailor-picked topics that you should think of right now. The app wants to encourage you to sort of open up the app. If you have a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes of free time in between classes, whatever, right? You can open the app and just think of an idea for one of these two topics. Great way not to lose time and to make sure that all those little amounts of time that you have are best used. But also accountability. So obviously things have deadlines, right? And so it's important to prioritize the things that are due soon. So that's why the bottom half of the home screen represents the things that are due most soon. From there, on the right side of the home screen, you'll see your list of topics. Topics are what we at Insight call these general projects, goals, deadlines, ideas. These are the sorts of things, these are the main sort of headings. This is what you want to think about. So for instance, you might have MIT college essays, the UF application, and you can actually group these under tags. So you can see that college applications for this user are sorted under the gray tag. And you can sort by all these, alphabetically, due date, color, just to make sure that everything's easily accessible right from the home screen. Then, once you go into the detailed topic page for each of these topics, you'll find that we organize these topics into what we call idea blocks. These blocks have a title, and each of them represents a different aspect of what you need to brainstorm. So we started off just straight, you can input ideas. So you define your topic, and then you can just input ideas right from the topic page. But we found that this was often difficult to manage, because there's many different aspects of one essay, even. Or there's many different aspects of one presentation. And you want to be able to think about all of those. So that's why these blocks, you might have one for each question, for instance, on a college application. Finally, for accountability, Insight sends out reminders. So these reminders will tell you that for upcoming deadlines, so it'll tell you beforehand, okay, you got this is due in a week, this is due in a month, this is due in a day. To make sure that you're kind of staying on track, making sure you're not losing track of the things that are coming up, but also random notifications that will encourage you to think of something right on the spot. When we did our customer surveys, we found that oftentimes people don't think of their best ideas at sort of regular times when they're sitting in front of a desk. Oftentimes, these ideas come at random times, right? And so that's what Insight is trying to capitalize on. If you get this notification, the situation that you find yourself in might lead you to, it might inspire you for a greater idea than anything you would have had before. We also have integration with various things to make the app easier to use. We have integration with Google Calendar, and we also have voice recognition for any of the topics, ideas, due dates. But money's important, right? And that's why, for the first version of Insight, the free version, we use advertisements to make money. This is an easy way, unobtrusively, to have a source of income from a large user base. In the future, we're working on a paid version of Insight that Josh is going to talk about in just a second. That'll also help with income. Okay. It looks like the video. No, it's going to ask you to. Okay. Well, this is supposed to be a video of the app working. And I can actually show you just on my phone instead. The app in Oregon. So you can see here, straight when you open up the app, you have your home screen. Here, we have 2 random topics that I've inputted here that the app wants me to brainstorm. So right here, I have a history presentation that I have due in about a week. And I can go in and edit any of my idea blocks. So the topic I want to work on, what sort of question I want to answer. We also have my upcoming deadlines. And then straight from the project list, I have everything that I want to do. I can add a new topic straight from the plus button right here. And you can see I have voice recognition for the name and topic. So let's say, for instance, I have a Spanish presentation due in, say, a month, right? I can just add that straight from here. I can choose a tag for it, a color. So my school projects on my personal device, I put my school projects under the purple tag, and I can just add the topic right here. Now, you can also see that I can sort by a number of different criteria. So alphabetically, due date. So if I look at my due date, I can see, here it is, Insight, right? That project was due today. And my school projects that are due soon.
Okay, so we've faced many challenges through our journey to developing Insight, and I'll start with, one of them was security. So at the beginning of the project, we weren't really thinking we were going to be dealing with super sensitive user information, like we're dealing with essay topics and such. But then when we went to one of the workshops and they started telling us all about cybersecurity and how it's so important that we secure our information, we decided we'd spend some time working on that. And we realized that you have a commitment to your customer to be able to secure their data and not even have the opportunity for it to be leaked out to people who they don't want to view it. So we wrote our own custom encryption that scrambles your ideas to foreign people so badly that it would look like you didn't use Insight to make them. So then people can't go in and look at your ideas and go in obtrusively and see what you want to be personal. So a few more things that we've had challenges on throughout the competition were focusing on the individual. So at first we thought maybe we'd add internet capability to Insight, and we'd allow people to kind of join groups and kind of make sharing between groups of ideas. But we realized a lot of other products already do that, like Basecamp, for example, already does that. So a big focus on Insight is focusing on individual progress and success. We don't want Insight to be just another one of those products that's a group management tool. We want Insight to be, you get reminded of what you want to do. And if you want other people to get reminded of your progress, then that's good too. But we want to focus on individuals. Another focus that we want to have is wider availability. So at the beginning, we only had an Android app developer, Matus, but then later on we realized a lot of our peers have iPhones, and we'd be missing out on a huge market. So we actually reached out to Anna, who then graciously joined our team and has been a huge help to us developing the iOS application, which has expanded our market drastically and brings really great new opportunities to Insight. And another thing we wanted to focus on is considering research that we've done, like Kyle, who we drew great inspiration from for new features that we might want to add into Insight for people like college applicants. And Insight taps into great potential that we discovered through our surveys, because we found that people on average rate themselves more forgetful than not, and they have their phone on them 80% of the time. Well, your phone can remember anything you want, but you can't. So might as well tap into the potential of your phone if you have it 80% of the time, and use that to remind you, and that's where the power of Insight comes in. So a few things that we want to add to increase the capabilities of Insight in the future are gestures. So a lot of people who we want to use Insight are younger people like ourselves who are more technologically savvy, and they don't want to have to go through clunky buttons and things. And so we want to make Insight extremely streamlined and easy to use for a younger audience. And we also want to add in timed notifications that focus on the research of the curve of forgetting, which is something that goes through how often you should be reminded of something to optimally remember it over time. So we want notifications to randomly remind users so that at a random point in their day, they'll try to think of an idea instead of having set times. So you may be thinking of an idea in the back of your head throughout the day, and then Insight is going to remind you, oh, you should write one of those ideas down, and it'll instantly come to memory, and you'll be able to remember it much more effectively than if you sat down and tried to focus on it. Another thing we want to add in are flares so that you can assign multiple different colors to things that you create. So say you have multiple assignments due for a certain college that you want to apply to. You add in those flares and you can organize your ideas based on that college instead of just things that Insight comes in with the different colors. And we also are working on a paid version to increase our revenue and also give Insight a better experience to people who are more invested in the app. So we want to remove ads and add more features to Insight based on people who pay more to experience the Insight experience.
Yeah, these.
Okay, so you guys really seem to have the great purpose and focus for your product. I didn't really get a good understanding of what the true purpose was until like 3/4 into the presentation, right? And so if you can move that more up front, so then it's gonna drive your story to be a lot clearer. And so you said, for the most part, it's about individual progress and success, right? So what is your competition and how do you stand out above them? Okay, I think the product is a really cool product, okay? I'm trying to figure out what it's replacing and what it helps me do better in my life, right? And one of the things is, so when you go in there, how do you start off? How do you start, like, I'm a brand new user, I start off with categories, or, you know, that to me was a little unclear about how I guess I'm organizing myself, is that right? Okay, in my life. And so one of the things that you did say is that you didn't want to do the group integration. I think you need to rethink that idea. For your initial focus, totally agree with you guys, rock solid, get that individual piece perfected and how it's working. But human nature is, we want to share, we're going to be doing work together. You have something, I mean, it seems pretty unique that you can make yourself, so even though there's a market out there, it's just competition, right? You can rise above that and do something better. So I'm not saying that for your delivery for the final presentation that you're speaking about the group, but that could potentially be on the horizon. And I do want to take you guys back. So did you guys visit the one tag presentation that I put out there for you guys to reference?
Yeah, well, we looked at it. It was well laid out. It was sort of flyer format. It was a little different than what we were expecting.
So why I recommend it, okay, is that it does have the key elements of a pitch and what investors are looking for.
Okay.
Okay, so for example, we want to see what is that overarching architecture. Simple, right? One slide tells the story. You guys do I like how you do your your customer stories. That really is clever in that sort of thing. And then the incorporation of voice and the calendar, I like how you do that. In the actual final presentations, you will come up to the judges and you will show us. Okay. And so that's fine. I just didn't want to interrupt it because she was recording and for you guys to be able to use that with your mentors afterwards, right? But I just wanted to tell you that we will want to touch play in everything. Okay. And especially when it comes to security, one of the judges, that's his background, cybersecurity, he's going to ask you 20 million questions about that. Okay. So even though a lot of the data that you say it's not sensitive data, but it is personal data. Okay. And so I'm really glad to hear that you learned a lot about that in cybersecurity from the program, because it really is important, and especially to your program. And yeah, you address security. You have some of your own terminology in there. Just make sure we understand what that is. So you said a block. I can interpret that to be something different. So you might, when you start off your story, what the problem is, how you're solving it, and like with your personas and that, maybe what are the key features, and then showing that. But overall, I mean, really, great idea. Lots of hard work, I can tell. And you've incorporated a lot of really neat features that I think will be great. Make sure you reach out to your mentors, you gotta practice. Think of it this way, that if somebody knew nothing about this competition whatsoever, would they really understand what you're pitching? Okay.
Thank you so much.
I really, to your point, I kind of think, I really like the stories and how you attach to each one of them, how you would use it. I sat there thinking for myself, I'm a list maker, and I actually like to have my lists outside of my, whoops, as I put it right in front of the camera, outside of my work applications, because it's hard for me to mix the two. So I really like that. I think that a little more upfront, like the gift giving. To me, I think it was beneficial to her because she might have saw something that you would like, and I put in there, go back and get this, but I wasn't quite sure. So I think with each one of those, how they use that too might resonate with one of those people, but you got a really great cross-section of how people can use it, I think, and I think that was really helpful to understand the use of the product.
I think it's just kind of more the organization of your story and helping
flow.
us, you know,
Yeah.
driving that clarity. Make sense?
Yeah, I think, like your first slide before we get started, I'm like,
Mhm.
are we not started? So,
Mhm.
but I would take your user case, and put that right in front, make that your first.
Okay.
You know, this person has this problem, this person has this problem, this person has this problem, this person has this one. I totally get your product. I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I have to go downstairs and go to my PowerPoint and write it all down before I forget it, because I will wake up in the morning going, there was something I was thinking about, and it was brilliant. Now, I'm not saying every time I go to my PowerPoint it's brilliant, right? But at least it's captured. I have to capture it. There was a lab at Bell Labs. It was one of the top scientists and developers and engineers in the world. And these guys would have a great idea, and they would literally write it on the wall. And there was a guy with a master's degree whose only job was to write it down, figure out whose it was, and email it to them. Okay, that was many, many years ago. But capturing those ideas is important. And my ideas, not everyone's a gem, right? But they are usually product or business ideas that I just would not want to share with anyone else. I'm
Right.
not saying I'm very, very worried about the security piece. I'm worried about, my initial worry is, how do I capture it? And then my second is when I go to actually say, all right, was this a good idea? How do I share it? So people can understand my ideas.
Yeah. The one thing about security, since it really is a problem, because if something did get leaked and something happened with the data, so we don't care about it until there's a problem, right? There was some.
This
go
product
ahead.
could also be used as a diary, okay? And, you know, I would say that, you know, people could just capture their thoughts and feelings. And oftentimes, people don't want to share their thoughts and feelings. As much as I'll ask them, they don't want to share it with me. So, but I need this product, and it's iPhone, so do a good job, because I need that. Yeah, especially, my wife needs it, I need it, 2 o'clock in the morning, I need to be able to go. Okay, now I'll go back to sleep.
So one of the questions that I do have, right, is have that all the time, right? I've got ideas going all over the place. There's so many things that I have going on. And to be able to capture those ideas in the proper category, to be able to recall it for that particular one. I'm unclear in your product how that's organized so it doesn't come back to me as fragmented.
Okay.
So show that to me. Show me how my fragmented life that I'm trying to get organized, how you help me do that.
And it may be a feature that you're gonna get to.
Yeah, which
But-
is fine.
Yeah, okay.
So it might be that I have all these ideas here, right? All these
Yeah.
ideas, and then I need containers for those ideas and drop them into certain containers. But you don't always know what container, like, you get an idea, you don't know where it
Yeah.
fits sometimes, right? You go, I'm gonna think about this one again. Then I wake up the next morning and I'm like, oh. Yeah.
Now, have you tested this outside of your immediate team?
Not as of yet.
Okay, do
Development is
that.
just finished, so.
Okay, that's
we're-
fine.
That's
I
fine.
mean, keep in mind, we're talking prototypes, so it's not, we're not gonna get,
Mhm.
you know, super focused on that. But we are going to be really focused that you are providing that customer value and that you have gotten their input and that it's not just what you think
Mhm.
works best for you.
Okay.
Okay, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important, especially when you're presenting, not to eliminate a possibility, like the
Right.
group thing, right? If I came to you and I said, I think we could sell, 2 million copies of the group thing, guess what, you'd have a group thing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and especially when you first get started with a company, you want it to be a certain way, and you're very, try to focus and change things, and then you get to a certain point, you go, no, I wanna be able to make sure that everybody's happy with my product, and I want the user to kind of help me direct to where I go. And the more flexible you are, the better product you're gonna come up with. So you can't eliminate possibilities at the beginning, kind of.
Yeah,
at a
you're
certain point-
narrowing it down to what you're able to deliver, but keep in mind, we have
Mm-hmm.
multiple releases,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
There's always
it's,
version 2.
yeah, there's 2, 3, 4, 50, 100, right? And so just keep that in mind, and